Hi, this is Attila, and this is a video of Steel Division Normandy 44, and this is a battle group guide, so no gameplay here, that will be on another video. And here I will explain to you the rationale of the 15th Infantry Scottish that I set up, and how to use it. Okay, so Recon Tab. So what I did here is I chose the Recce, which is a small infantry unit of 2, so that make them stealthy, and they are using the vehicle Humber MK3. So that's why I choose them, because this vehicle has the capacity to suppress the enemy a little. Doesn't have much AP power, but it's okay to suppress the enemy, let's say. Also, it's very mobile, so it goes at 88. But above all, you keep it, so that's useful. And I use that for phase A because it's best to use that that stage. Spread your recons around, which you sneak around, and sometimes having a recon behind enemy line can be extremely useful. So that's useful. Then I use in B phase, I use this Daimler Little John. What's interesting about it is that it's actually 14 AP power. If you can see that here, and this is a recon, but you can ambush the enemy at phase B. But beyond phase B, I think this might not be a particularly useful vehicle. But at phase B, it's still useful. So I use that. Infantry. So the way the Scottish work is that you use a combo of different units to achieve different tasks. So phase A, I bring some brand group. These are useful at suppressing the enemy, taking position into buildings and just shooting at the distance. But they won't last long. So that's why you use the rifles. These are like your troops that you put in closer combat situation, and that what you will use to push forward because they have more strength, and which means they will survive longer under fire, and that's what you use to push forward. Then I use a Vickers HMG, which is useful to suppress the enemy at good range, I guess 500 meter. And yeah, you put these into a building which have a wide area open, or in an area which has a wide area ahead of it. So a line of 3 that can be good as well, and you will suppress the enemy infantry with that. Then I use the rifle leaders. These actually have an anti-tank capacity, but really that's not the main interest of these guys. They're mainly useful because they provide experience, and yeah, very useful to have that during phase A. So at phase A, you spawn a couple of brand, a couple of rifle, well, actually 2 of each, and some rifle leader, maybe 1 Vickers, and you should be fine. Then for B phase, I switched to Assault Pioneer, which are not necessarily as good as riflemen for fighting infantry, but they are actually really good for fighting in buildings because they will throw explosive, which will kill everything around. And also, I guess they are not that expensive, 15 points. So it's a useful complement of troops. Then additional brand group, additional rifles, and I keep them with experience. As you can see here, all my troops here, except the Vickers, as experience, because it's really important at the beginning, and I find that it's better to have experience than number. So rifles, some rifle leader here, which have a brand and actually a steward support with some machine gun that can be useful. And finally, additional rifles to complete the entire thing. But at that point, if you really have to call those rifles out toward the end, that means it went really badly. Okay, tank wise, I use a Challenger on phase B. I use a Churchill, Command Churchill on phase B. And I bring some Sherman on phase C. And what that mostly means is that this is really not a deck that I use for the tank. It's really a deck that I use for the infantry. And these only come during phase B because it's like you need some armor, but not that many with this deck. Okay, in terms of support, I use a Dingo, which is kind of good at charging. Well, actually boosting the experience of your troops, and it's really not that expensive, so it can follow your troops really fast at the beginning. Then I use a Bedford supply, for supply of course, and a Churchill V instead of the EVRE, and that's because here you have two of them, and early on you can use that effectively. And the EVRE, it's like it has an amazing armor, yeah, that's sure, but the range on it is 600 meters, so that's really bad. Although you have an amazing HE power, but I prefer to have availability. Now, anti-tank, that's mainly the main strength of this battle group. Here I bring some Piet. They're not that great, but you can spread them around, and sometimes, especially in smaller map, in 4v4 or 1v1 or whatever, having some of them spread around can turn out to be very effective at killing enemy tank. Then I bring in a phase 6 PDR, a group of 2 with 1 experience, and another one with 2 experience. Because early on, I think it's really important with this battle group, essentially, since you have no tank, having anti-tank capacity is really important. Now, the downside of those cannon is that you are really exposed to enemy airstrike, so that's problematic. But I'm sure you can deal with it. Then B phase, I bring 17 PDR and 2 of them, and they're pretty good. Well, actually, that's like the best anti-tank you can have. Only 2 of them with 2 experience, and this is a bit risky, but it's if you hide them well, you can kill enemy tank very effectively before an airstrike come and kill them. Then finally, I bring some Wolverine, 2 of them. I could have brought more PDR, but I think toward the end it's better to have Wolverine, which have the capacity to move, have more chance surviving airstrike, even though you never know. And finally, it's like it's mobile. That's important, and you'll be able to push, especially with Sherman helping out, and Challenger as well. So that will be useful. It's like your tank for C phase, which need another tank to help it though. Okay, it's then anti-air 3 Polston, 2 of them. What's interesting about these is the rate of fire, 16 HE power, a range of 800 meter. And these can actually kill the enemy planes. They don't scare them much though. So that's why I bring 2 of them. And I bring a Beaufort. And the combo of both together is really effective at killing enemy planes. The Beaufort will scare it away, while the 3 Polston will kill it. At least that's the theory of it. Then B phase, additional Beaufort. And finally a Crusader AAMK1. Now this is not a particularly numerous anti-air capacity, but hopefully this will be compensated by killing power. Then artillery. This is another strength of this particular battle group. You have a good amount of artillery support possible. And in this case, I decided to bring a mortar carrier. This one doesn't kill much, but it will suppress, and that's particularly useful. And you have 2 of them, so early on in the battle on phase A, it's useful to bring one. Then phase B, I bring 25 PDR2 and 2 group of them, because during that phase, it's really good to have these to take care of anti-tank or any heavy fortification. So these are useful for that. They also have a no-K range. Additionally, I bring a Churchill OP. And in this case, what I find useful about these is that you can target with artillery something very specific, and since this one is armored, you might have better chance of survival. But I only bring one because I don't find that particularly fast. But it can survive airstrike and that kind of stuff, artillery, and so it's mobile artillery. You have 3 shots at them, so that's useful. And finally, 2 AOP carrier, and these one bring bigger caliber, and I guess toward the C phase, you might want these to either defend yourself, slow down the enemy, or simply to push forward and destroy what's ahead of you. So it's practical. Then here for the Air Force, well, this is mostly an Air Force which is good for 10 versus 10. And what's special about it is that I'm actually sacrificing number for access to the Spitfire Mk1X and a Typhoon with rockets for the first phase. The interest there is that during phase A, if you're able to suppress the enemy in the column with those airplane, you might be able to capture them with the mobile recon or the infantry or whatever you bring. So this is a very specific choice, and because currently the enemy, well, the German Air Force is not that strong in phase A, you can really hurt them a lot with these 2 planes. Now you're sacrificing a proper anti-air cover, but assuming you play with more than yourself in your team, you can rely probably on other people to do the air support, depending. Also, in phase C, I'm bringing 80 Typhoon because these are really good at killing tank, of course. And you can have 4 of them, I think. Yeah, and this one is good against the first Typhoon is good against anti-tank, for example, or infantry, while these are only good against tank. And the Spitfire is good against infantry and anti-tank gun. So with this battle group, I think you can do pretty much a good push early on, especially because you can notice that I have a lot of troops for A phase. And B phase is more like building up force to support what's already there. So this is a battle group which is really focused toward achieving a good push early on, and then after that you might be more defensive, or if it's going well, you can still push forward. So I hope you appreciate that, and this will be put on the Steam guide I'm doing for this game, and there will be a video of a battle showing how effective this is. So I'll see you there.